everyone, I'm Amelia. Today we are talking about your elbows, and your elbows are a very important part of your rider position and also a very difficult part to master how to use them correctly. One time I was having a lesson from my husband and he told me that I looked like I was rowing a boat because I was just pulling on my horse. So bottom line is, you don't want to look like you're rowing a boat when you're riding your horse, but your elbows do need to move a little bit to follow the motion of your horse, particularly at the walk and at the canter. So we're going to focus on those two gaits in this video. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I post a new video every single Wednesday. So I really hope that these videos help you, because that's what it's all about for me. Okay, so starting out at the walk, the first thing is that when you first get on your horse and you start walking, you want to always focus on the rhythm. So the walk is a 4-beat rhythm. So if I count the footfalls, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you want your horse to be walking with activity and purpose. So you don't want your horse to be like super slow like this, just like you're going to a funeral, like barely moving each foot. You really want, I always say that you want your horse to be walking like a runway model, like where they're swinging their hips and really moving through their body and through their top line. You want your horse to be walking like they walk on the way home from a trail ride or on the way back to the barn after a ride. Now, as I'm walking, if I just let her have her head, you see how as she's walking here, there's a little bit of a nod to her head. And you see how her mane just goes a little bit up and down just while she's walking free here. So when I take up the reins, in order to keep the activity and the flow of her walk, I need to allow a little bit this motion to continue in her body. So as I take up the reins here, I'm using a little bit of leg just to encourage her to keep walking, because I want to keep the exact same tempo and rhythm. I'm taking a little contact with her mouth, but I'm following. So you see how every time a front foot goes forward, my hands go forward, 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 forward. So within this following motion, like let's say that she's a little bit too above the bit, like she's a little bit too high in her neck. First I get a steady contact. I'm following the motion. Now I'm just going to use my fingers a little bit, like a little bit left, right, to get her to come just a little bit rounder, but I'm still following the motion. So every time a front leg goes forward, my hands are going forward, 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 forward. I can bend her a little bit to the right, but I'm still always following that motion through my elbows and also through my whole body, so through my hips. Now let me show you, if I'm following here and all of a sudden I lock my elbows, you see what happens. She immediately stops because I've just locked up on her. You're a good girl. So that's why it's really important. The other thing that happens if your horse doesn't stop, but you stop following the motion, is you get a bit of this going where you pull, give, pull, give, pull, give, pull, give, pull, give. So you see how basically, because I'm not following the motion of her head, the reins are kind of coming tight and slack and tight and slack and tight and slack and tight and slack. So this is not nice for your horse, because remember that you have a piece of metal across their tongue, and that is a sensitive area. So it's really important that you find this following motion at the walk, and then within this motion that you supple to get your horse a little bit rounder. This is like a really hard thing to do, finding this following motion through your elbows. I have a hard time, particularly with my left arm and my left elbow, even though I'm left-handed. So let me know in the comments. I'm curious which of your elbows is more difficult for you to find this following motion. For me, it's way more natural in my right arm, and I struggle a bit in the left. So let's go canter. So now in the canter, just like we did in the walk, the first thing that I'm focusing on is the rhythm. The canter is a 3-beat rhythm. So it's outside hind leg, inside hind leg, and outside front leg is beat 2. Inside front leg is beat 3. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The horse's back goes up, level, and then down in the canter stride, which means that your seat follows a swishing motion from back to front. I have a lot of other canter videos that you can watch, but let's focus on her elbows. So as her back is going up and down, her neck is nodding. And you can tell this by, if you look at her mane, see how her mane goes up, 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 up. That means that as she's cantering here, every time her mane goes up, my elbows are bending a little bit. And when her mane goes down, my elbows are straightening. So it's bend, 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 bend. So my elbows are a little bit pumping along with the motion of her canter. Now, you don't want to do too much. So you don't want to be going like this, because you see how I no longer have a steady contact with her mouth. So that is not correct. You also, I'll show you when I go in front of the camera again. If you lock your elbows and stop following, again, you see what happens. You're a good girl. So it's really important that you have this following motion in your elbows so that you can maintain a steady contact in the canter. I guarantee you that if you're having trouble getting your horse on the bit in the canter, or keeping a steady contact, it's because your elbows are not following the motion of the canter. So I'll show you the same thing on the left lead. Is I'm feeling the rhythm and I'm thinking about with my elbows, bend straight, bend straight, bend straight. I'm going to switch my whip. It's a little hard. I feel like whichever hand is holding the whip in it, it's a little harder to really follow with your elbows. So sometimes it's good, if you can, to ride without a whip. Good girl. Just so you can get a little bit more of this feeling. Good girl. That was good. You're a good girl. Good girl. Good girl. So your elbows are really an important part of getting your horse connected, getting your horse on the bit. And it's hard. Like, it's really hard to be thinking about keeping your elbows following, absorbing that motion while you're thinking about everything else that you're supposed to be doing when you're riding. But I hope this gave you some ideas for how to find that following motion. And let me know in the comments if it was helpful. If you have any other questions or video requests, I love hearing from you guys. And I also have a free mini course on rider position, so be sure to check that out, and we'll see you in the next video.